Hi, this is Ron Martinson of ronmartblog.com, and I'm going to show off the new Nick software Color Efex 4 today. I've frequently mentioned Color Efex 3.0 as being one of my favorite add-ins, so I'm super excited to show off Color Efex 4. Now, please keep in mind this is not a final released version. This is what they call a release candidate, so there may be some changes that happen from here in terms of performance or some behavior differences or whatever. So, but it's pretty close to being done. So hopefully this will give you a good idea. So we're starting with this first image here, and the first filter that comes up, just because of alphabetical order here, is black and white conversion. And we're going to play with that today. And so what I'm going to do is show you there's some different features in here. There's tonal enhancement for dynamic contrast, and I'm going to just stick with regular black and white conversion. And if you look at, actually right off the bat, the defaults are pretty darn good. If I wanted to do something like remove an effect from an area, like right here, to kind of give it that you know, colorized look, I could do, something like this if I wanted, or I could move it down here to this tattoo. I can move it into her glasses, or whatever really I wanted to do to remove the effect. I'm not really interested in doing that right now, so I'm just going to delete that. I can change the strength of this effect, and I can change the brightness and contrast and so on. Now here's something interesting. There's also this ability to come up here and reset the filter. Now if I've set a bunch of control points, I can keep those control points and just reset the filter back to the defaults. But I can also get rid of the control points. So this is really cool, new feature. So let's just say reset it. And you'll notice here it has add filter and save recipe. Well, that's kind of new, right? So what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to go ahead and turn off this effect temporarily. We're going to turn it back on again in a minute. And we're going to add, and it says, look at that, select another filter from the list. The cool thing here now is that we can actually do more than one filter at a time in Color Efex 4, and that's a huge advantage. We're actually going to come up here to Portrait, which just basically filters this list. That's all we're doing. And we're going to say Dynamic Skin Softener. And the way this one works is I just come here and click on the eyedrop, take a click on some skin, and voila, the skin's been softened. Again, I can change any of the details. I can use control points. I can come in here and say, you know, that's a little too heavy-handed for me. So I want to zoom in a little bit more. Oops. It's already taken it to 400. Okay, there we go. I can come in here and say, you know, let's bring back some of that skin texture and only soften a little bit. So let's say maybe around 70%. Now, I can come back out, and again, here's a new feature. I can toggle back and forth in my zoom, or I can just check a specific zoom value. So that's kind of cool. 50% and so on. And again, either one, I get to toggle back and forth. There's information about my photo down here still, and this is kind of a low-res version that I'm using just for this demo. So we're going to go ahead and set that back to 50%, actually. Yeah, so around there. And then, so we now have this effect. Let's go ahead and add our black and white effect back. And we're going to actually go back just for kicks and see, okay, we added some skin softening, we added a little black and white conversion. Now, what about a vignette? Okay, now come in here. Oops, my bad, excuse me. There's undo, so we get our skin softener back. We do an add filter, and then we do vignette. Okay, now let's take a look at what we can do with Vignette. There's different shapes and sizes. And so for this one, maybe we'll try the oval. Play around with it a little bit. We can say transition. And you can see down here at the bottom what's happening. We can change, the brightness, opacity of that vignette. And then there's this adapt edges. Let's make this real dark. I'll show you what adapt edges is going to do. See, it's going to move around in these areas. Let's make the size a little smaller. And it's going to try to adapt the edge. So you notice how it's keeping the vignette off the model's head, which could be desirable. But I'm not a big fan of that feature, actually. I'd rather just give me a round one and I'll handle that issue a little bit different way. And so you can kind of say, all right, let's do a little transition here. Opacity, let's bring that back down a whole lot. And somewhere around there. And then I can come in here, and if I wanted to, I could say, all right, let's use a negative control point, make sure nothing's happening on her head here, around this area. This one, it's okay, don't really need it, but I usually do that just to make sure it's not doing something I want. If I wanted to remove it off this tattoo, I would just click that. I actually want it, but here's something else. I can say maybe I want it, but I don't want as much. I can change the opacity. And so I can keep it, but just maybe turn it down a little bit right there. So that's kind of cool. And so now we have really cool improvement, and we can, again, see what it's like before and after, and we can try with it without the skin softening, and we can do it without, and bring these other things back in. Look at it. Well, what if I wanted to keep it color? What would I do? Another common one we do in color is tonal contrast. So this is what tonal contrast would look like. And let's see, usually when we do that, one of the first things we do, actually, let me point out one thing. There's new tonal contrast this time. There's different modes. And so standard is what we used to have in the previous version of Color Efex. And so one of the things I would frequently do when I did this one was I'd come in and click on skin and remove it. Oops. Make sure all the skin didn't get any tonal contrast. And then for hair, I'd usually dial it back or get rid of it altogether. Oops. Again, I'm going to make this a little bigger. Maybe bring in a little bit, but not much. And then sometimes I would just kill midtones altogether. It's up to you as to how much effect you're going to want. I'm actually going to probably just dial in maybe about 10 on this one. Okay. So I've got my tonal contrast, put my black and white effect back in. The more I look at it, this vignette, I think, yeah, it's maybe a little too heavy-handed. Or maybe I just need to place the center in a different spot. I can try putting this, somewhere around here, see what happens. I can, again, I can lower that opacity some more. And I can make that transition a little different. So let's bring it back a little bit. And yeah, maybe that works for me. If I wanted to remove it altogether, I could just click X and remove it. I can Control Z or Command Z on the Mac and add it back. And here's a cool thing. If I like what all I've done here, I can come along and say Save Recipe so that I can do it again in the future. So say black and white model. Skin soften. So now I have a preset that I can use later. I can export that preset and share it with others or save it in case I want to put on another machine. and I can update it if I make any changes, and I can delete it. So we're going to say, oops, OK. And color effects is going to come in, make its changes, and voila. And if I wanted to say, hey, maybe we'll just lighten it up a little bit, let a little of that color bleed through, I could do that. Or I could just set it all right back to the black and white.